So I can see the data that is supplied on the web page on the GitHub repository. We can see the link. This is a pet city data, and, so we can see the city and some pet as visible. What we can do, how can we can interact? First of all, what I am doing now, I am just scrolling using my mouse. As you can see, this is very smooth. Then we can change the plane of viewing. The best way is to first point with the and press the right button. So then when we would change the plane of view, we would see the same area. Yes. So how we change the plane of view? We press first space, then for example 3, this would be this transverse, 2 would be coronal, 1 would be sagittal in case of this data. Of course, how it would display depends mainly on what data would be uploaded, because this just depends on how dimensions were permuted or not permuted in case of the dataset. As was also explained in the README, in case of Julia we have this column-wise contiguous memory, so we need to do some permutations of dimensions in order to display it properly, as you can see here. Okay, so let's maybe get back here. What else can we do? This is of course we can see both masks, I mean as a mask, the main image and this PET scan, but we also have here the third mask for manual modifications. How we modify? I think we just press the mouse. And we have a bunch of points. How we can change those bunch of points? First, we can increase them. How we can increase them? We press tab and plus, and we increase. So we can press tab and minus, and we'll decrease them. Okay, this is done and already happening because the default texture to modify was this one in this particular case. However, we can also want to change from texture to texture in order to be able to modify them if possible. So for example, when I press L1, you would see that I have texture to modify. For the modification is pet. So how I can modify? I cannot modify manually pet because I said that this is impossible, yes, in a texture specification. But I can do different things with it. I can, for example, change the visibility. So how much the pet is visible relative to the other masks. I'm doing by pressing F6 and then minus or plus. I can also change the thresholds. By the thresholds I mean that the cutoff values above which in this range also of those cutoff values, the values would be displayed. Yes. In case we would be below or above, these cutoff values of the pixels would be just set to this maximum or minimum values of the cutoffs. What is also important, the thinner, the smaller is the range of values, the stronger would be the signal, because we would divide the values by the small range. Yes? So as you can imagine, when we normalize the data, we divide by the value range. Yes? So for example, when I press F5 and plus, I increase the range. Yes, so we can see that values are less and less pronounced. Whenever I would press F5 and minus, I would decrease the range because F5 is controlling the upper bound, hence it would be more pronounced. When I would press F4 and plus, everything will be more pronounced, yes, and after some time, of course, we'll see this pathologically that everything becomes visible because everything is trimmed to this smaller range of values. But when I press F4 minus, everything gets back to normal. So F4 is controlling the lower threshold. Okay, and of course the same can be applied to the other masks, into the city mask, also to this manual modification mask. Yes, so I can also increase, for example, the aperture shot, and we can see that it is less or more visible. Okay. What else can we do? Of course, this is the soft tissue window for the CT scan. But we want to see the CT scan better, for example. We can control the visibility of the masks. How to do it? We'll just press Ctrl and, for example, 1. 1 was associated in the texture specification with PET data, so we just made it invisible. In order to make it visible one more time, we press Shift and 1. But for a moment, let's just make it invisible. Okay. So now we are looking at the CT scan. This is a soft tissue. In order to change the view, in order to change the window, we can press, for example, F1, and then we can see bones nicely, and F3 to get better view on lungs. We can also, of course, make some custom modifications also to this. These are the most important things that one can modify. There is also a possibility of subtraction of two masks. In order to show this, I need PET data also, for example. In this case, it's not the perfect data set to show this, but we will see. So, for example, in order to make a difference between the mask 1, so PET, and 2, so this manual modification, or between manual modifications and PET, we can, for example, press Shift 2 M1. Yeah, and we can see that everywhere generally the PET values were present. Yes, so we do not see anything interesting here. But if I would press Shift 1 M2, you would see that everywhere is PET. Yes. This is just this pathological example, let's say. The more interesting example was on different data sets and is presented in the article associated with the package. Yet the most important idea is that we can subtract two masks and see where one mask is present and has higher values, and when the other mask has lower values. Okay, thank you very much.